Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Wisconsin was just one of those teams whose season got derailed by COVID, but they somehow managed to salvage it at the end by winning 2 straight games, including their bowl win over Wake Forest, to finish 4-3, to finish with a winning record. The Badgers clock in at number 12 in our early Gridiron Expert Top 25, as today we take a look at Wisconsin's 2021 schedule, see what they're up against this upcoming season, whether or not they can win the Big Ten West, get back on track to see the Wisconsin that we have always known, and maybe, just maybe see if they're a college football playoff dark horse. Now again, we're not here to predict any of these games. We're just here to analyze the schedule. But guys, before we dive into that, let's take a look at what Wisconsin has coming back. First off, health is key. Health from injury-wise and COVID-wise too, because this was a team that started 2-0, beat their first 2 opponents in Illinois and Michigan by a combined score of 94-18, but got hit hard by COVID, lost 3 straight games, and of course won their final 2 to finish 4-3. They returned 8 starters on offense, 7 starters on defense. The health and the progression of quarterback Graham Mertz is going to be vital to Wisconsin's success in 2021. Highly touted recruit. We saw flashes of brilliance from him early in 2020, but of course once that big COVID spell hit the Cairo campus, including Graham Mertz, everything kind of got derailed. So hopefully he bounces back in a big way for the Badgers. We know the defense is going to be strong. They're always strong under Paul Chryst. It's just a matter of the offense can finally take off the way we thought they would with Mertz under center. Finally having a competent quarterback under center for the Badgers, something they really haven't had in a very, very long time. So you take a look at their schedule, guys. Really, this is extremely favorable for them. For Wisconsin, it's extremely favorable. And I'll tell you right now, we're going to break it down for you, but unlike all the other teams that we've done in these schedule preview series, we usually say, there's a key stretch of games. There's a key stretch of games that could make or break this team's season. Wisconsin doesn't have that. I look at this schedule, and I don't see one major key stretch of games, usually 3 or 4 games, that I think could be very daunting on the Badgers' schedules. Instead, they have a handful of key games, but they're not back-to-back, or they're not even in the same little stretch there. They're just kind of spaced out, and that's so huge for Paul Chryst and the Badgers. And I will say, first off, let's take a look at this. They don't waste any time getting started. Wisconsin does not have the liberty of easing into their season like many other teams do. They jump right in to a conference game, a Big Ten conference game against Penn State, a Penn State team that was very disappointing in 2020. But a Penn State team that many, including myself, expect to bounce back in a big way. The Nittany Lions return Sean Clifford. Their running back should be a little bit more healthy. The defense, yes, they lose Micah Parsons and a handful of other starters, but should be a little bit better than they were last year. This was a team that started 0-5, but finished by winning 4 straight games to finish 4-5. James Franklin's going to have this team back on track. Don't you worry. And this game against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's game against Penn State for that matter, is really a battle to see which team is back first. Not that they were gone for very long, but cross-division game, Penn State out of the East, Wisconsin out of the West. This is huge for both teams' conference championship hopes, getting to that Big Ten title game, and it's an opportunity for everybody to see which team is in a better position to start 2021. Which team is ready to start trending back up, and which team is going to have to wait at least another week before they can do that. This game on September 4th is huge, and Wisconsin has the liberty of hosting that game at Camp Randall Stadium. That's huge. Again, huge even more if we can have almost full capacity, and hopefully we will. Again, look at Wisconsin's schedule here. Only 4 true road games. And did any of them scare you? Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Minnesota? Not really. Not really. The big games are at home for the Badgers. Eastern Michigan, not a big deal. The bye week, that's one downside for Wisconsin, as their bye week comes in week 3, so they have to play 10 straight games over the course of 2021. That is one downfall to their schedule. So while it's relatively favorable when it comes to opponents and where they are scheduled, the downside is that they get their week of rest early, but they do get the week of rest before they play Notre Dame. That's a huge game. So take it how you will. Look at it as a pro, look at it as a con, look at it as a middle ground, however you want to look at it. Sucks that you get a bye week this early, beneficial that it comes before such a huge game in Chicago against Notre Dame, who very well could be a top 15 team, top 10 team at this point in the season. This is going to be a very physical game out in Chicago, a game that I believe will be won in the trenches. Two great run teams, Kyron Williams from Notre Dame going to do extremely well. Jack Cohn, the former Wisconsin quarterback, now potentially going to be the starting quarterback for the Fighting Irish. So you have that connection there. I don't expect this to be a very high-scoring game either. Two great defenses, especially with Notre Dame adding Marcus Freeman from Cincinnati. I don't think this game will exceed maybe 28 points on either side. Again, we're not predicting who's going to win this game, but we do know this is going to be a very physical game when it's all said and done, but a game that does not affect Wisconsin's chances of winning and getting to the Big Ten Championship. It does not affect it. It's a non-conference game, but it's going to be a really fun one to watch, especially at the end of September. Michigan on October 2nd, Illinois on October 9th. I love the non-conference game in the middle of the season against Army. It's always a big honor and a big opportunity and really just unique to see a Power 5 team play one of the military academies, Army, Navy, Air Force. And so Army coming to Camp Randall Stadium to get to see Wisconsin's defense try to bottle up that triple option is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really, really cool to watch. So I love this middle of the season non-conference game for the Badgers. At Purdue on October 23rd, Iowa on October 30th. That's the big one. I'm going to tell you what I think the three biggest games are here in a second, but I will tell you right now that I believe the Iowa game on October 30th is the biggest game of the year for Wisconsin, because this is the game that could very well determine who wins the Big Ten West. Wisconsin and Iowa, in theory, are the top two contenders and the two favorites to win the West Division. Very well could be decided right here. Wisconsin gets to host the game at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison to try to avenge a 28-7 loss they suffered to the Hawkeyes just last year. Again, Wisconsin's season was derailed after COVID. They lost by 10 to Northwestern. They got annihilated by Iowa. It was derailed there towards the end, right? It wasn't any good. Well, now COVID shouldn't be an issue anymore. So it's going to be a matter to see, can Wisconsin bounce back against what's going to be a dang good Iowa team? Iowa, very high expectations in 2021. A lot of returning starters. Never underestimate Kirk Ferentz. If this game was in Kinnick, I'd be more scared for the Badgers. But we know Camp Randall Stadium is a very difficult place to play too. And we know they're going to be hungry to avenge that 21-point loss. The biggest game of the year for Wisconsin, and they're hosting it at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison. That's a huge, huge deal. But that's by far the biggest game on their schedule. The month of November comes in. We always say it's the wildest month of college football, the most unpredictable month. Very tame. The toughest game here, probably Northwestern, maybe Minnesota, but Northwestern, the Big Ten West champs from last year, Wisconsin hosts them, looking to avenge that 10-point loss they suffered last year in Evanston. At Rutgers, Northwestern, Nebraska, at Minnesota. The Badgers survived Minnesota 20-17 in overtime last year. Rivalry weekend, anything can happen. I do expect a bounce-back year for the Golden Gophers. They disappointed big time after winning 11 games in 2019. They had a losing record in 2020. So not very good for PJ Fleck, rowing that boat backwards, not forwards. But, again, I think Minnesota was also one of those teams you have to get a little slack with some of the opt-outs and the COVID issues that they had. So the Golden Gophers should bounce back. That's going to be a difficult game there. But again, the month of November, not too bad. The entire schedule period, not too bad. There's not one key stretch that concerns me for Wisconsin. The FPI agrees, 9-3 for the Badgers. FPI has Wisconsin going 9-3, which could be good enough to get to the Big Ten Championship game. Again, I don't know who these three losses are to for the FPI. But let's say one of them is to Notre Dame and Chicago. That means they have two conference losses. And then it comes down to how well does Iowa fare, how well does Northwestern fare, and maybe how well does Minnesota fare if the Golden Gophers do in fact bounce back. But I look at Wisconsin again. Their three biggest games to me. We said it again, it's Iowa on October 30th. That's the big one. Because I do believe that will determine who wins the Big Ten West. I genuinely do. After that, it's Penn State. That's the second biggest game on their schedule. Penn State in the season opener. No time for error. No room for error. You don't get to play a cupcake team to ease into your season. It's right there. You have to have your A game against a team that is hungry to bounce back, just as hungry to bounce back as you are. But Wisconsin maybe owns that slight edge because of the home field advantage. And in their third biggest game of the year, I really could say it's a toss-up between, I would say, honestly, Notre Dame and Minnesota. Someone might say, well, what about Michigan? Well, guys, Wisconsin beat Michigan what was it, 49-11 last year. 49-11. They beat Michigan. They're hosting it in Madison, and Michigan's still working through a lot of things themselves, as we all know with Jim Harbaugh. So I would say it's Notre Dame or Minnesota, just because of the rivalry factor, it being on the road, it being the season finale. Maybe Wisconsin's in playoff contention. Maybe they've already clinched the West. Maybe the West is on the line. Who knows? Rivalry weekend, anything can happen. And I love PJ Fleck and never want to underestimate him, especially at home. Notre Dame's just going to be a great, fun, top 10, top 15 matchup that could have playoff implications, but at the end of the day, it's just going to be a really, really fun game to watch. So Iowa, Penn State, Notre Dame/Minnesota, those are the biggest games on Wisconsin's schedule. But again, all of their big ones are at home. All the big ones are spaced out. Again, Penn State, couple of weeks. Notre Dame, almost a month. Then you got Iowa, almost another month. Then you've got Minnesota. The Badgers have a very, very favorable schedule going into 2021. It's just a matter of whether Paul Chryst, Graham Mertz, and this defense can take advantage of it and maybe surprise the Big Ten, but I would say maybe surprise the college football world. Can they do it? Wait a few months and we'll let you know. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and hit that little bell. Hit that notification button to never miss a video here at The Gridiron Expert. We're continuing to work through our schedule previews. You never know which team's going to come next. We have 11 teams left. We're about to get to the top 10. We're about to get to the good stuff. I can promise you don't want to miss that. You're not going to want to miss any of our prediction videos, so just hit the bell and don't miss anything coming your way. Make sure to check out everything down in the description as well. Exclusive content for you guys, exclusive college football content for you guys, not just for this offseason, but all season long as well. So make sure to go give that a look. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.